Welcome back to Ion Radio. I'm John,
And I'm Ken.
and we have another broadcast episode today. Um, so this is going to be covering kind of like the month of January, which we are excited to talk about everything that we have released, which is going to be our entire first Hinterlands campaign.
Yeah. And boy, John, did we have some fun playing that. It was fun to play classic BattleTech again. Man, when was the last time that we played classic? Was that back at Somerset when we did that right at
Uh,
the beginning of COVID?
on the channel or in person.
Either or.
In person, before I moved from my last place, I had a 2 month after my birthday, a belated birthday
That's right.
BattleTech grinder event,
That's right.
and that was a blast.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert for no one that can actually go back and watch that, but the entire night ended with Ken DFAing someone else's mech.
Like, if you're gonna do a death from above attack, you might as well do it in a grinder, right?
Yeah, so okay, so Um, I listen to a lot of different BattleTech podcasts, and I was listening to the Mech Bay, and they were talking about death from above is not an offensive maneuver. They consider it a defensive maneuver because regardless of what happens, you push the other player's mech.
You do.
So you can push them out of position to guard objectives with DFAs, which
That's also a great opportunity when you're right at the edge of a cliff to shove someone 3 or 4 levels down,
correct.
which is about the only time the falling rules apply for falling from a significant distance. But
Exactly. Yeah, so that was the last time I played Classic before the Hinterlands. So let's dive into what we've been doing hobby-wise and also what we've been doing for games played and things like that besides what's on the channel before we just fully dive into everything that's Hinterlands. So I'll
sure.
let you start off with what you've been doing hobby-wise.
So I've been painting mechs. We'll touch on this a little bit later, but we just started filming Aces. So no spoilers yet because we can't really give any. John, you've got your setup there behind you. But what it inspired me to do is try running the same thing here at home because my brothers wanted to play. So I've been painting up more mechs in similar color scheme to the Hinterlands. That's a blackjack sitting there. And then painting up my copy of Aces as well, because why not? So it's been a lot of mech painting from the hobby side, because it's mechs are fun to paint. You don't have to paint them in a scheme. You get to do crazy stuff sometimes. Take a prime look. I mean, what I'm doing with my mechs for Hinterlands versus what you're doing with your mechs for Hinterlands. Each one's kind of its own fun, unique thing. So that's been the bulk of hobby stuff for me. On a side note, because we also talk about some gaming. My wife and I just finished playing through a card game. It's a reskin of the Hogwarts battle game, or I forget the specific name of it. But it's the Avatar Aang's Destiny game.
Nice.
They actually, in my opinion, improved how the Hogwarts game works in terms of some of the enemies and whatnot. Your characters tend to work better and together. You're not in the spot where, oh, I need to buy another really cheap thing that I don't need to clog my deck. I'm looking for something stronger and more powerful. So that was kind of cool. And we went through the 7 books. Took us forever to get through one of them, and um, I still have hair though. I didn't pull it all out yet, but a lot of frustration at times. But that's how these games go. Beyond that, I really haven't done much. You know, it's been status quo. Most of my gaming, John's been with you, and a lot of it's been BattleTech.
Yes. Um, for me, I've gotten almost nothing done. So this whole last month, I've been on night shift. I went to night shift so the night shift supervisor person could come to days for training, and so I covered their spot so they could come to days, and I just had no energy to do anything. So the only things I did was get together when you came over to do Ace's recording. I finished up. I don't remember if we talked about this last time. I finished up um, the Jade Falcon forces,
Mhm.
and I also finished up our Ace's Ion Raiders force. I don't remember if we talked about that, but that got completed. So I have all of that, obviously, because when this is coming out, you're going to see things being released for Aces already. So obviously, it's all been painted up. But I finished that up, and then I kind of have done nothing hobby-wise for the rest of the month. I just didn't have time or any energy. Oddly enough, it was easy for me to go back to night shift. For those of you that have been following the channel since the beginning, I've only been on day shift for like 2 years of my entire life. So everyone on nights was just surprised. They're like, "Oh, I'm so tired." I'm all like, "What do 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 do?" And they're like, "How are you so awake? It's 3 in the morning. Aren't you supposed to be a day shifter?" I'm like, "No, my whole body cycle has been on nights. It's just that's just how I've always been." So
So that's
adjust.
actually a great way to tell. Whenever I win an Armada game, it's usually when we get together at like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, and your mind just isn't working.
To be fair, that is true. Now that I'm thinking about it, you win most of the first Armada games of the day.
Yeah, yeah.
That's because I need. Sometimes you just need to warm up a little bit.
Uh, or in my case, I take advantage of the fact that you haven't warmed up yet.
Yeah, yeah. So I haven't really gotten anything done, which is kind of a lame thing to say, but I just haven't had the time. Um, there's a my plate of gray is still there. I still have, I think we talked about it in one of our earlier episodes. I still have the Blood Bowl team. I have like four teams in like a disarray of different painting. I just need to sit down and actually get it done.
Yep.
I just haven't been able to do it. The BattleTech Aces came out for us. Great time because I wanted to play it. Bad timing because it was Christmas and holidays, and then we
Yeah.
went right into me going to night shift. If it could have come out like, 2 months earlier or 3, 4, 5 months earlier, would have worked better for us personally. But I'm just glad that we have it in our hands now. So
It is fun. And we've only got what, one game that two games that we've played now at this point.
released, I think we're coming up on probably three.
Yeah, we're future projecting, folks.
Yeah. I think we'll be done with it by the end of February,
Yeah, give or take.
give or
Uh,
take with that. So,
but we'll
um,
talk all about aces. Yeah,
yeah,
in
Aces is going to
future
be its
episode.
own thing. Honestly, it could
Oh yeah,
probably be like two full episodes, to be honest.
likely, likely.
So, that's a really short, like, what's going on with your life? Yeah, I've just been on night shift, so I haven't done anything. And then you've been busy too. So, do we want to jump into now the main topic, which is Hinterlands?
I say let's do it. We've been itching to talk about Hinterlands and classic BattleTech in this format for months.
Yes.
Let's get right into it and then just see where it takes us.
Okay, so for those of you that don't know, when we say Hinterlands, what we're referring to is the mercenary play style that is presented to us in the Hinterlands Hotspots book.
Right.
So everyone refers to it as Hinterlands, but technically, I don't think that's what the system's actually called. That's what that book is called because it takes place in the region of the Hinterlands. And to catch you guys up on some really deep BattleTech lore, I think the year is now 3151,
3151.
and the Jade Falcons and Clan Wolf just moved their entire armies, everything that they had, to Earth and just duked it out to see who actually became Ill Clan. Surprise to absolutely no one. The Golden Boys, the Clan Wolf ended up winning. Huge spoilers. You already knew it was going to happen. They had they can do no wrong. So in the aftermath of that, because the Jade Falcons had like such a large territory that they just boop pieced out of and then just got annihilated, um, that whole region falls into chaos, which is what's known as the Hinterlands. So in its wake is a power vacuum between the Jade Falcon Merchant class, Jade Falcon like warrior class, another mercantile group, the Tamar pack, Lyrians are involved, Hell's horses are involved, and then just other governments that are like, you know what, we don't need the Steiners or anyone else telling us what to do. We're just going to do our own thing. So it becomes this whole area that mercenaries are flocking to, and they're just doing whatever battles, which is literally all that you really want in BattleTech.
Yeah.
So that's the groundwork of where it is. So the entire like top wedge of the Lyran space is this area, basically where Clan Wolf and Jade Falcon's former occupation zones were. So that's where we're at. And the idea in this book is that you make your own mercenary company and you take a contract there, and you can face either an Op 4 group or you can face another player. And they have pre-made missions, and you roll and you do a contract, and it tells you how many battles and so many months you get, and then all this cool stuff that is a lot of fun math keeping that you can do if that's what you're into, and it is because you're playing BattleTech. So yeah, so we decided that we would both start our own mercenary companies. So we had a lot of debate on what we wanted to do. So we decided that we'd both start our own mercenaries here because we already knew Aces was coming in the background and we'd be playing on the same team. So we'll be making another mercenary group there. So making the same mercenary group didn't make sense to us. So we were like, why not just make three? Because that's cool.
hmm
So that's where we are. So I'll let you go ahead and start and do a quick intro to your mercenary force.
So I decided that, yeah, I was having a hard time actually coming up with different mechs and what I wanted to do with a mercenary force. And since we knew we wanted to have really good painted mechs and everything else like that, I was just kind of scrolling through BattleTech lore and whatnot. And then someone had brought to my attention, oh, hey, were you going to like Gen Con or something like that? And it sparked like this memory in my head of I think it was Gen Con where they had the giant urban mech standing in front of one of the convention center halls. And I pulled up the picture and I looked at it and I said, okay, that's a really cool paint scheme. I'm going to paint that. So because there's an urban mech, I need an urban mech. So there's one of my mechs. And then I started going through the list. And the only other thing that, yeah, kind of fit, and I'm like, yeah, this should be a good complement to the Irby, would be an awesome, because awesomes are awesome. They take a lot of firepower. And boy, when you have all four PPCs hit, that hurts. I'm thinking, okay, this could be a good pair. Snub nose Irby and, my energy heavy awesome. Painted them up in that schema, which is kind of a little pirate scheme because there's little crossbows on there. And then I'm like, well, all right, we got to come up with something. So that formed up the Bright Sun Raiders. Zero thought was put into it beyond that. It was 100% based on color scheme because of what Catalyst has out on the front during the major conventions. And I'm thinking, well, we'll start with that. And then depending on where we go from there, I would absolutely love to get a Timberwolf into that group, which is never going to. Oh,
That's
Timberwolves,
never going to
awesome.
happen in
It won't
the
happen.
mercenary groups.
It'll never happen. But I want one, so I'm going to figure out how to do that.
A Timberwolf's going to be like 5,000 BV.
Yeah, I'm going to totally go into debt and never be able to do anything. I'll never be able to arm it. It'll be great. I'll have a Hulk of a Timberwolf.
Oh my gosh. So the games are done by like a tier system. So you're like at a level. So like
Mhm,
a level one is like 2,000 some points. And
mhm.
then like a level two is like 4,000 some points. And
Yeah.
then it
I
just
think
keeps
it's
going
3,
up.
6, 9, and 12. I think
That's
the 3,000. Yeah. Anyway.
could be. It's something like that. I don't remember the exact, but um yeah, it is three. It's 100% three. So as your force grows, then so does the contract that you're facing type of thing.
And the
A
number of maps.
Timberwolf would just immediately put you into like a tier three.
Yeah. It'd be
Yeah,
fun. And
I'm
I'd
gonna
get
deploy one mech
pulverized.
against an entire company of mechs.
A Timberwolf totally could do it.
No. No, it could not. Yeah, so
You see, John, I've got one right here waiting to be painted. It hasn't even been primed yet, but so have to do it.
yeah. Yeah, so is that good for your
I'm that
Mercer
I
group?
like I said, there was zero thought that went
So
into
mine
this.
was it's all about a name. So I needed like a good name. And I'm like, the Hinterlands people describe it as being like the new Wild West of BattleTech in the lore. And I'm like, what was the mercenary group that was known for being in the Wild West? And it's the Pinkerton, like mercenaries, private eye group. And they were just strong arming for basically corporations in the Wild West. And I'm like, perfect. That is basically what I want. Um, Not necessarily good guys, more than likely bad guys. And like, but we'll just put on a professional code for it. Perfect idea for a mercenary group. But I couldn't call it, Pinkertons because trademarks and I don't want them after me. Because they still exist. I don't have any, what is it, magic cards, so stay away. Um, so I decided that they weren't going to be the Pinkertons. We'll change the color. So it's going to be the Purpletons. That is your off-brand generic version of this. So that's what I came up with. And then that led into what my paint scheme was. It's odd that we both kind of came up with a paint scheme before we even decided on what our mechs would have been.
Yeah.
So I had this idea of I would use like a purple, black, pink, white camo idea. And I would be using my airbrush, and then I would be using like it's masking tape, and I just cover the mech with masking tape and hit the entire mech with a color, put more masking tape on it, hit another color on it. So you actually have to though think of the mech getting painted backwards,
Hmm.
in a way, because whatever your last thing is going to be your primary coat when you peel everything off. So I want my thing guys to be purple. So purple has to be my top layer, and then the different camo patterns in it has to be the previous color. So for me, easiest black, because I'm going to prime it black, is going to be the technically base color, even though if you look at the mech, it's technically more of a highlight because they're just little bits. And then I just painted up from there. I'm really happy with the way they turned out for it.
No, they look
So
great, John. They really do. And I love how at the beginning of the episodes we do the whole circle of the mechs. So you really get to see the amount of effort we put into making them look good.
yeah. So I was really, really happy with the way they turned out. But let's talk about how I selected mechs. So while you decided you needed an urban mech and then whatever fit with it, I went from the top of the list down and I found the two mechs that I could fit in that were closest to the middle to be equal value.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I told you when we were talking about what our forces were, in deciding it, you're like, these are the mechs that I'm looking at. I'm like, these are the two mechs I decided on. You're like, what are they equipped with? I'm like, I don't know. I never even looked at them. I literally just went off the point value, and I chose those mechs. They ended up being cool mechs. Um, somewhat not as good as I wanted them to be. I think the next section, when we get done talking about the missions and how the campaign went, we'll both talk about like the downfalls of what our units
Oh yeah.
were, because I think if we both could redesign and actually put actual serious thought into this, we would choose something very different.
Oh yeah.
But that's
100%.
jumping ahead.
Hmm.
So then we came up with the story because now you have a pirate group,
Right.
and I very much so have like a corporation type group. So we formulated that my group was on a planet protecting some corporate something or other. And your group is going to be some sort of piratey group that's being hired to destroy said corporation thing.
Right.
Poof, instant story.
Yeah.
So
We figured out how many tracks we would have, and then we're like, okay, how is this going to work out? This makes sense for me to be the attacker of this, you to the defender, based on our concept of our groups. And then as we started rolling up the tracks to figure out, all right, we do. I think the first one was uh,
recon,
recon, gonna
which
break
we played
through.
wrong, but that's because the
And
book is written. There's parts of the book that you're like, this is amazing. And then there's parts of the book that are like, did you even read this?
right, in fact, when we had been looking at some of it, there were clearly examples pulled from mercenaries that weren't updated for the Hinterlands example. So I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense, but we'll try and figure it out. And then you go back to Mercenary's book and you go, aha.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we came up with our good story. We decided, right, this is the general way this sounds like it would work. And oddly enough, the dice kind of rolls kind of worked with it.
Yeah.
So
The
we were kind of happy with that.
the only thing that may have changed was, so we played Recon first.
Yeah,
Um, we decided that wasn't going to have anything to do with the later story. And then the next one I think was Breakthrough.
breakthrough.
And you were trying to break through my lines.
Right.
And then we already knew the last one was, what was it called? Raid or something like
Yeah,
that?
it was like raid or objective raid. Yeah.
Objective raid, that you have to find ability and destroy it.
Yeah.
So we did all of the randomized rolling. So at the very beginning, we just because we have to plan it out.
Right.
Normally you wouldn't do that, but we actually do. And we'll talk about how we would replan things later on because we hit some stopping points in there as well when we were filming. Because filming and playing are two very different things. But the last mission, we like flipped roles. So I would be
Yeah.
attacker, you would be defender. And we weren't quite sure if we wanted that to be the case. So we kind of decided if Ken's forces were to have completely breaking through on that second mission, we would just ignore what we rolled and he would be the attacker on
Right.
my base. But because I stopped him, we just kept with what it was. And then because I blocked you from breaking through to the corporate area, I then attacked your area. And I thought that worked well for the story.
Oh yeah.
Um, but like, we don't tell you guys that until now. But we were like at the very beginning before even filming anything, we're like, if this changes, depending on
Yeah.
who wins this, depends on how we go about doing that, just from like a story perspective. Um,
Plus, we want to have time to, if we know we need to purchase a new mech or throw something in, we will have to put that together, paint it, and everything else. Our op fours, we kind of need to know what they're going to be. Now, in our case, we knew what they were because it was John's team versus mine. But I think, did you change your tanks in the third mission?
yes.
Okay,
Thankfully, I had
so
like
did I.
everything already
Yeah,
painted for that.
I did.
So, you custom paint all of your vehicles.
Yes.
I have generic paint schemes for things so that I don't ever have to worry about what size force is on what.
Mhm.
Okay, so I have generic paint schemes for all of my vehicles, and the reason for that is this one's a generic military green, and this one's an urban combat color. And then I also have other colors in there too. So I have like a desert camo scheme, and then I also have like a different green camo, but the windshield colors are different. So it's like a bright yellow or bright red. So it's easy to tell.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter what type of force I have. I just grab the generic vehicles because I figure like most of the time, like mech regiments, even like for Davian and stuff like that, when they're joint, it's just generic looking camo for their stuff anyway. So I can just swap in any vehicles and they always look like they will at least match each other. So that's my goal. So I just flip-flopped all of my vehicles in the last mission just to um, be more beneficial to what I was planning on doing. So
I decided to throw in a Manticore tank just because I wanted to see how well it would do.
what it looked like,
Eh,
yeah.
it didn't
Um,
last very. No, actually, that one
the
lasted a while. Just your little oh, what the heck are little guys called?
little hovercrafts,
Yeah.
Pegasuses,
No, 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 no. The little really tiny ones, like Hover Masters or something.
Savannah Masters.
Savannah
Sorry, I
Masters. There you
just
go. Yeah, yeah,
completely blanked. I mean, to be fair, I think every vehicle I used through the entire thing was a hovercraft except for the VTOL.
yeah.
I love hovercrafts. Hovercrafts are have always been one of my favorite things.
They're kind of
Uh,
cool. I like
yeah.
them.
Um, that was the first time we used that system. So they're not real vehicles. They're um uh like
Battlefield support.
battlefield support.
Yeah.
And I know it's a hot topic in the BattleTech community. I actually really liked them.
So
I
did I.
didn't. I felt like it kept the game moving without bogging it down. Now, like if we were in Alpha Strike, I would just rather just use the vehicles because it doesn't really change it. But like for classic BattleTech, not having to worry about any nonsense with it and just rolling once and being done with all of its attacks, and then like even the damage thresholds. Um, because vehicles a lot of times just come down to a lucky roll regardless. So you might as well just make it one lucky roll and move on with your day, is my experience with it. What's your thoughts?
I felt that the having played with vehicles in Classic before, they weren't as tough because you didn't have to just constantly shoot them to take them out. Although in some cases we did, but but it kept the emphasis of the game on the mechs, not so much the vehicles. The vehicles were important; they were still there. So from that perspective, I liked it because when you think of BattleTech, you're thinking big stompy robots that shoot things, whether it's missiles or pulse lasers or whatever. You don't think of, well, here's 15 tanks and a helicopter against, 8 mechs, and it's not quite the same. So, you detract a little bit from that vision of what BattleTech is. Now, your mileage is going to vary on that. So some people are happy doing combined arms at the full stroke of every unit on the board having a sheet with bubbles on it to cross out. I liked the cards. It worked for our purposes. It worked really well. That's
Yeah.
the way I'm going to look at it.
I want to put a caveat in there.
Hmm.
I like the vehicles. I do not like all the other nonsense. The other nonsense is way too powerful. The airstrikes,
Oh yeah. Hmm.
we didn't use any artillery, but all that other stuff is too powerful. And to be really honest, it doesn't make sense that a two mech mercenary group somehow has full on aerospace coverage. That's just my opinion.
I would agree.
Um, but I think the vehicles balance themselves out on the table because you can actually destroy them.
Yeah.
The other stuff, because that's completely off table, and unless you just spent points doing aerial denial for them, which if they didn't bring it because you don't know what each other's brings, like that stuff I don't feel as good about. I feel like future campaigns we may talk about like, are we doing artillery? Are we doing aerospace? Are we doing that to be very upfront at the beginning because it very much so changes it. Because like the last mission we talked about, how if you didn't target the Savannah Masters and you just dropped all three of your aerospace in the same turn on one of my scout mechs, you would have destroyed it.
Right.
Like, how's that cool?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
It,
it's run, it's a mech that's made to run like, I could get a TTM of like five or something on it, and then like an aerospace will do 45 points of damage to it on rolls of three.
right. Yeah. There were certain things that, like you said, they don't quite scale properly.
Yeah.
And I get why they're there and they're cool, they're neat. again, if you're talking speed of use and everything, because you want to have, two lances or a company of mechs per side on the table, I get the bookkeeping bit. But I'd rather have artillery fire from 16 map sheets away with scouts running to go shoot down the. That would be an interesting game to play. Um,
But that's not a hinterland scale.
no, absolutely not. But I'm saying that would be an interesting game for us to play at some point. Split the forces across. But anyways, um, yeah, it just it's small scale, especially at the scale one and even scale two groups of mercenaries. Having one or two tanks or a couple hovercrafts, I can buy that. Having fighter support and the facilities to be able to rearm them and I felt a little cheap doing it. Um, didn't really help me out in that third mission too much. But yeah, I would rather stick with just the vehicles, the helicopters and whatnot, and then the mechs, and then leave kind of the rest of it out. It just didn't quite. It felt like it detracted a little bit to me.
Yeah. Um, you mentioned something that I thought was really important for it. You talked about the scale,
Mhm.
and this scale of like 1 to 2, 3-ish mechs per side felt so good.
Oh yeah.
The matches went by really, really fast, and they were really action packed.
Hmm.
And I never felt like um, any of my forces just completely vanished instantly.
Hmm.
And sometimes when you're playing like even a lance on lance BattleTech game, because BattleTech is such a like roll heavy, sometimes you just sandpaper blast people and nothing happens, or you just bore into their center and they don't do anything and they just explode. You can bore in and you can just absolutely annihilate a mecha turn with 4 mechs.
Yeah.
You really can't do that with 2 mechs.
No.
So you had more freedom, I felt like, to maneuver and do different things in the game, um, at the smaller scale, and it went by crazy fast.
It really did, and it what it showed me was it highlighted, especially with my two mechs, the pluses and advantages of what you had. I know that first mission we played, the urban the urban mech jumped up, and I was ready to fire an AC-20, and that's what the first time it dawned on me. No, wait a minute, this doesn't have an AC-20. It's got a snub-nosed PPC, which hit a lot harder than I was expecting it to at the shorter
Yeah,
ranges. And then that was a fun surprise. But it moved stupid slow, like
yeah,
three spaces, and that was it. The awesome, on the other hand, was the most powerful piece on the game, and you were shooting it a couple times with different mechs, and you never really took it down during the first two missions. Th that said, my urban mech for mission two almost almost made it across the board, just jumping around the corners there. Was it your quick draw that finally punched it, or was that
it
the
was the quick draw.
yeah? Quick draw got around. It couldn't hit anything to save its life until it got into a physical attack and took the darn thing out.
Yeah.
So that was funny.
Like retrospective on the units that we picked, my units were relatively balanced. Um, the downside was the quick draws armament was very much so close range, but it had the LRM that did like no damage that wanted it to stay away. So
Yeah.
I never could use all of its firepower at once on either side of it. So it wasn't like enough damage when you were in close, and it wasn't any damage when you were far away. So like you were in this like weird medium range spot that you just then couldn't hit because you needed to jump to um not die immediately. So it was a frustrating mech to use, which is funny because it's the only one that got any like real kills
It actually got a
in
kill. Yeah.
in the entire campaign. The Caesar I really liked. I love Gauss
Did
rifles.
you
I
ever
love
use the
PPCs.
Caesar prior to that, John?
I have not.
Okay. So
So it was a lot of fun to use that. And then because we're in the Ilklon era, everything had double heatsink. So like I never kept track of heat. Like the only time I would need to keep track of heat is if I got like an engine hit or a limb blown off that took off heat sinks or something like that. So that wasn't even a concern for me. I'm like, just fire everything every single turn. Um, the pulse lasers really wanted to be up close, so it was
Yeah.
like a balancing act of like how close could I get with the pulse lasers without like getting into like minimum range and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that mech.
Yeah, there was some extra math that you had to do with the, all right, what's minimum range? Where can I hit and actually get a good shot? Yeah, no, there was a lot of that going on off camera, which was fun. That Caesar was a dangerous mech.
Yeah. And then I picked up the Jenner,
You
and you
did pick
saw
up
it in
Jenner.
the last
Yep.
mission, and it did exactly what I wanted it to do, which was be anywhere you wanted it to be at any time instantly because it was so fast. It's made out of paper, but like you're just never gonna hit it. So,
Yeah.
um, it never fired at any units, but it had so many missiles.
Yeah, I mean, you've got two SRM-6 packages on that. So you're just unloading and 30 rounds of SRM-6 uh,
And I
ammo.
think it has a streak four.
And it's got a streak for 25 shots of that.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, tons of missiles on the Jenner, and I couldn't hit it to explode anything,
yeah.
fortunately.
So I
But
really like that unit. Even though we didn't really get to see it, future campaigns we will.
yeah,
But we didn't really get to see it used that often. So let's talk about your mechs. Yeah, I know you already touched a little bit on it, but let's talk about like hindsight
I
into.
mean, hindsight. I mean, I've got the record sheets here in front of me, and I'm going to point out a couple things here, right? So the urban mech, the one I had was the UMR 80. Walk of two, run three, jump three. It, I mean, there's not much more else to say. Um, my range on pretty much everything was three, with the exception of the snub nose PPC and the tag system, which it's not really a weapon. Uh, the awesome AWS 9Q, four PPCs, and then a small laser. I mean, the small laser is just kind of it's there, whatever. But the four PPCs are really what did it. I could fire all four of them, one maybe two rounds in a row, but then I'm down at least one because my double sinks only go up to 38 points of heat that I can get rid of. So walk three, run five. They were slow. They were very, very, very slow. And even on just one map sheet, it takes forever to get it to the other side. And having sat down a plate, so this is the downside, like you said earlier. If we were going to do this again, we'd pick completely different mechs. And I
Yeah.
100% agree. Um, although the Awesome is a great mech, it I need something that's moving at a speed of like seven, running to be able to be effective. When you take a look at your max, not the Jenner, but your quick draw is 5'8" with a jump of five. The Caesar is a 4'6", no jump jets. You're moving faster, so you can get in better position than I can. And it's just with some of the missions where, okay, I need to get within a range of three, even if I win initiative, you're always one or two steps away where I cannot scan your mech. So that was a problem.
Yeah.
If I'm deployed on one side of the board and you're attacking the buildings on the other side of the board, I can't get to you quick enough. The only advantage I had was that, at a range of about
The whole
10 or
map
so.
sheet.
Yeah.
At the
Uh,
range of the whole map sheet, you're at close range, and
I
you would
mean,
just annihilate my things if I gave you good shots.
yeah. So, that was the one advantage I had. That was about it.
Yeah.
Um, Needless to say, though, although they were slow, I think one of the most fun times I had was trying to see can the Awesome make it all the way across the board. And I think was it the second mission where I had more armor on the back side of the Awesome than the.
This
Was
is where we have to tell people that we had to record things multiple times.
Oh, that's right. We had to
So,
replay the second mission.
so we had to replay the second mission because we messed up on it so badly. We're like, we can't release this,
Yeah.
even though that was a really fun mission. So we made the mistake of, I actually went full in on the awesome. And I put it into force withdrawal right when I was at the middle of the table.
Yeah.
And we were just excited to play. And Ken pushed it to get off my edge because it was an edge that he could leave from. But he technically can't leave
I
from
had to
that
get back.
edge
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
force withdraw because you can't complete an objective while in force withdraw. So he had to retreat the other way, and we spent the next. I think it was the longest of all of our games, and we didn't even produce it. Um, but I think it went like almost 10 turns
It
or
did.
whatever the limit was. It was like right there.
Mm.
Um, and I wasn't able to kill it with multiple tanks, multiple. I just ignored the urban the entire time, and I
Mhm.
just drilled into the awesome. And I think it was like a gyro hit. No, because that would
Oh,
have
yeah.
destroyed it. It was like multiple engine hits in it, but not dead. I had
Yeah.
I had
It
your
was
center
limping.
cord out, and I just couldn't hit the center.
Right.
So you were like turning your back because the awesome's like another full mech on the back, and I'm like, how do I get in front of it to shoot it? Um, yeah, so that was something. Um, you just can't take it down in enough time, even as slow as it was trying to get across the table. Um, which is a little bit of an advantage because you then knew how to get across the table the next time that we were playing it. And my advantage was I'm not going to waste my time shooting the
Shooting at
awesome.
the awesome.
Especially because we got done and your contract basically repaired everything for free. So
Yeah.
like I basically destroyed your mech, but didn't,
Right.
and you got it back for free. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that was a waste of time.
Yeah.
So the next time I'm like, I'm not even touching the awesome. I'm going to 100% destroy the Irby mech, and that's what you guys actually got to see. So
Yeah.
I just like ignored the awesome, and I decided I was going to kill the urban mech before it went across the table because it's so slow.
That it is. It's a cool looking mech, but man, is it slow.
If
Uh,
we were reversed on who is like attacking slash defending, I think it would have been different because your mechs would have had better
yeah.
firepower to keep me from going across,
Hmm.
and my mechs would be faster to try to go across. But like the way it ended up just being the way we rolled missions, you being an attacker slash pirate group, while it's feasible that like an urban mech and an awesome would be part of that group, it is just not a good pirate mech.
No, no, no. Clearly, the story is someone managed to pick up an awesome, was absolutely broke after getting that, and all they could find was an urban mech in a
Yeah,
state of disrepair. And then they lost it anyways, so it doesn't
yeah.
matter. Um, but, you know, I think if it was reversed, right, I'd be sitting there deployed wherever I am and slowly backing up, just blasting and concentrating on one mech that you had coming in. I mean, that'd be the best way for me to go about doing it. And again, you could take out the Irby. That awesome's going to pretty much hold a quarter to half of the map sheet. Now, if
Yeah.
we get to scale two and face each other again, well, now it's a different matter. But because we might have one or two more mechs each. But that might take me a little bit longer to do
Well,
because
you have to replace
I'm
an
full.
entire mech before you can even start doing it. I am at the point that if I choose to, I could go scale two, and I just don't feel like I can maintain scale two throughout a scale two mission.
Yeah, it's a lot more that gets thrown at you.
Yeah.
Uh, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I think our next Hinterlands thing, we're going to see what happens in the next 3 months of our forces. So
Yeah.
you will see these forces, except maybe not the urban. I might buy another one.
You
Just,
might just buy one just because it might just be your pirate thing.
I mean, it's a pirate thing, and I have one painted, so
Yeah. Let's dive into production and the
Yeah.
things that we discovered as we were doing this for a bit. So normally when you just play the game, you just play the game.
Yep.
But when you're recording, you can't just play the game because you have to have everything ready to record a game. And we discovered that very quickly. We had pre-done every single map sheet that we could come across and with the 3D printed terrain and to make it look good. So we thought through that. We made our forces for the initial one, and then I have all the vehicles painted, so it didn't matter what vehicles I picked. So kind of had to paint his vehicles. And our plan was to play the first two missions on our first day of recording because we could actually line it up in doing that.
Right.
And during our second mission, I'm like, well, theoretically, because I think during the first mission I bought the Jenner, I could use a Jenner. That's completely gray. And it's going to probably take me at least a week to
Right.
paint it up right. Cool. We should plan ahead. So if we were to do this again, or like the fact that like I destroyed your awesome, not
Mhm.
awesome, your
The
urban
urban
mech.
mech.
If you were to have rolled that you could have bought a new mech for mission three, you would have used it.
Right.
Again, gray. Like it doesn't work for filming. So we would we've decided that moving forward, when we go to start a mission, or a campaign, we'll look at what like the options are for buying and we will just roll appropriate things pre-done.
Yeah.
So like if we were to find a mech available, these would be the mechs that are available and then we'll just have to paint them up how we are. So like if it's three tracks, we roll up three random mechs. So we like do the second part of the mech finding first and then we roll to see if we
Yeah.
find them. Um, because like
Well, I
we
mean,
we
the
have to
only
have
other,
it painted.
you're right. The other alternative would be, okay, we can film one episode of Hinterland. Say we have 3 episodes to film again. We could film one, but then we may have to wait a whole week or two
That's
before
if
we
we have
film the
time
next
to
one.
paint
And that,
between that and the next
that's the
time.
key. Whereas right now, what we want to do for our next series of Hinterlands, not only do we want to know what are we going to be doing, where are we going to do it, what kind of terrain do we have? Because we had to 3D print everything.
Yeah,
Then you got to paint it and all the rest of that. So you've got that. Any mechs op 4 has to be created because mini spoiler, we will not be facing each other in the next quarter of 3151. So John's going to be facing against, we don't know yet. I'm going to be facing against, we don't know yet. So we have to paint those forces.
I think it's a mech dealership that you're going to be facing because you need a new mech.
Yeah, I'm going to go find the nearest GM facility and take out
Pirate rate it.
something. Yeah, and pirate rate it. I mean, so all right, we already know what my track is going to be. Um, but yeah, so these are the kind of things we have to think about. Whereas if you're playing the game, you don't care. I mean, you could slap some paint, you can play with a perfectly unpainted mini, or if you've got 6 different ones painted up in various different colors, who's going to care? It's painted, it looks good on the table. For
Exactly.
us, it doesn't work because we want to give that more cohesive kind of look to all our videos because we like the way it looks. And, mark in the comments below what you guys think. But uh, we, again, one of the philosophies we've always had here on Iron Radio is we're going to put out videos that we want to watch.
Exactly.
So that's why we did that. This is also why, speaking of production, that I take that extra step and do another pass on all the videos and add all the lasers because I think it looks cool. In some cases, John, I know you. This was the first time I decided to do the missiles that moved across the map, and I thought it looked pretty cool. It took a little bit extra time, but now I got a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
But it adds something to it. It helps identify who's shooting at what, and I think it's just fun and just adds to our production value.
Yeah. Yeah. So planning, we'll need to plan even we already were pre-planning. Now we need to pre-plan even
Or
more, but we wouldn't have known that until we started playing. That's one of those things that we learned from this playthrough. Also that there is an errata And while that fixes most things with the missions that are funky, it doesn't fix all the things with the missions that were funky. Their terminology for how things deploy and set up is not very intuitive. I will just leave it at that. Even their errata explanations, and I think you got a hold of someone that explained it to you,
Hmm.
and you're like, that's not what that means.
Hmm.
So it needs to, if you were to redo this, which they plan on doing, because as they release source books as for the Ilklon era, um, they hit a bunch of areas, and each of those areas is supposed to get their own campaign book like this. Please, for the love of God, clean up your phrasing on your missions. That's
Or at least make it consistent.
or make it consistent. Like pre de, pre-match deploy this, pre-turn one do that, pre-setup do this. Apparently
Use
all means the
initiative,
same
do that.
thing,
Yeah, yeah,
which means start the game like normal.
right.
If it was start the game like normal, you should just say deploy like normal,
Yeah,
not before turn one. Before turn yeah.
yeah. Here we go.
Yep. So, I mean, I could dive into that. The inconsistencies with the missions is the part that made the campaign actually, that was the least enjoyable part of the campaign. I'll leave it at that. The bookkeeping was fine.
Hmm.
Playing the missions, as long as we agreed on what it was fine. The way our mechs worked and at the force limits, that was a lot of fun. Trying to interpret what the missions were and how to deploy and things like that was the not fun part. I think the very first mission, which we apparently got wrong because what's written isn't what it means, and then you had to look at an errata to even get close to it. We literally spent like 30 plus minutes discussing what things could theoretically mean based on what other missions were. It was really frustrating. Um,
There is one positive though that comes out of this, John, and it's a lesson that everyone can take because you and I did spend some time talking about it, like you said. But we kindly finally got to the point of like, well, you know what? We're both kind of good with this, so we're going to play it like this and see
exactly.
what happens. So, if you're playing with your friends or with folks at a convention or whatnot, and you've got some disagreement, the best thing to do is kind of sit down, let everyone give their points and ideas, and then just kind of generally agree, we're going to do it this way. And then you may have someone that's not 100% behind it, but if most people can get behind it conceptually, that works. So, there's some give and take in that, everywhere you go. And I mean, John, how many different games have we had to do that with various different things? So,
Yeah. So overall, though, I really, really enjoyed it, and I look forward to playing it again. And I think it was a great way to do classic BattleTech,
mhm,
um, because classic BattleTech, for the most part, is difficult to do because a lot of the campaign books are very skewed to one side.
mhm.
We played
Somerset.
the Somerset thing, and it's like you get a +5 to whatever normally would do. You're like, I already made +10 to hit anything. +5 puts me at 15. How is
You
this
know,
supposed to be fun?
the
Ugh.
one mission that we actually enjoyed the
We
most,
made it
we
up.
made up.
Yeah. Yeah, we made it up. So like campaigns are difficult to make from that perspective.
Mhm.
And then most of the time just pick up games or just blast them. And while that's fun, that's no objective or no story. And I think this blended like you can make your own story about it extremely well.
Mhm.
And I think this should be like one of the like default starting places to play BattleTech, to be very honest.
The other thing it did, because you bring up a really good point, how generally speaking, grinders and everything else, you don't care what happens to your mech, let it blow up, pick the next one. You actually care about your two mechs that you have here. I am not happy that I lost an urban mech. There was part of me that's like maybe I should make this go back and get it off the edge or run it off the side. But because I was so close, I'm like, I think I can do it. I think I can do it. It was worth the risk.
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll take that approach. Now, if I were to play this again, no, absolutely not what I do. I wouldn't even have the urban mech to begin with, but
Right?
you know, I'd probably go back to a Shadowhawk, which is one of my favorite mechs.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if that's one that you can pick in your starting force. So I have to take a look. But
I wouldn't know because I just literally went to the metal.
so, um, but I 100% agree. I had so much fun playing BattleTech, which, every little bubble that I had to cross out hurt. Every time I rolled dice and scored a hit, it was fun. There was a lot of laughter on both sides. And, I, half the fun was even just putting together with some of our pre-planning. We need to 3D print 85 trees each, and we need to,
I know, right? And then how fast can you paint it? What are you
right.
doing to paint your trees?
Well,
Because
I'm doing
what
this,
I'm doing is completely different.
but they all look good enough for what we do. And then, like even sprinkling the static grass on the top
Yeah.
of the different terrain pieces. But we got it all done. We had fun, and then unfolded that map sheet, and then we were off to the races.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to get back to Classic and specifically to play, the mercenary campaigns in the Hinterlands, just because it's going to be a continuation of what my little group is doing. And we have two different stories here. Mine's all right, I've been beaten pretty hard. I got to try and come back from that. So it'll probably be a raid or something relatively easy that I can do. Where you've got a whole lance, I think, because didn't you buy a second mech?
I did, and
Also?
I don't recall what it is now. It's honestly it needs to be painted, and we're waiting to come up with what our next force is, so I can theoretic next contract, so I can theoretically see what would be buying options for me during the course of that, so I can just paint it up all at the same time.
You picked up a Griffin 2C.
Ah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, you've got a whole lance now.
yeah,
So you could do something at scale too. You won't. But now you have some options for your 1 to 3 tracks worth of missions that you can have next, which I think is going to be fun for you just to see what you can do and where and with what. And now you can kind of pick which mechs you want to use that are more tailored for whatever mission you have.
exactly. What you were saying, like you care about your mech as you cross off the bubbles. For me, because I had like zero salvage and
Mm.
zero like support, every bubble I crossed off was like, this is costing me money.
Right. Yeah.
Lots and lots of money. Could you please stop shooting at me? This armor isn't free.
Right. And that's well, so when you look at what we had for our contract terms, right? So your big thing was having more of an independent command and a higher base pay. So you
Yeah,
were getting more money every, month
yeah.
versus
If
me.
we didn't have to fight, I would be fine with that. I would make
Right.
almost the same amount of money.
Yeah, if not more.
Yeah,
And then my big thing was, okay, yeah, you can beat me to a pulp. I'm getting my sponsors paying for all my repairs. Now, did that come at a cost? Yeah, I wasn't getting the full 500 support points every month uh, because my base pay was lower.
yeah.
So, hit or miss, but I have no repair bills. So, yeah, I like the way these systems work in terms of creating a customized contract and looking ahead into the next set of missions that we're going to play. I'm going to be curious to see if either one of us actually picks one of the hot spots versus another randomized contract.
But also knowing your contract changed the way I played
Yeah,
because I either had to destroy your mech or it didn't matter.
yeah,
So like I was never gonna get like the first mission I took like a pot shot at you and then I connected a PPC into you and you connected a PPC into me. Well, that PPC I fired didn't matter because it got fixed for free, but I had to pay for that PPC that came back from me. And that taught me an important lesson. I'm not shooting at anything and not giving you any shots unless I needed to actually take you out. And that was how I played. And like even like the last mission, like I only got paid for killing the building. You were in my way.
Yeah,
I didn't care. And that's why like you saw I think someone's like the hovercraft seemed cheesy. Oh, they were
yeah,
because I'm trying to make money.
yeah. But what's fun about this?
The whole point is I'm gonna poof onto the board as a
Yeah.
surprise attack in the middle of the night with all my hovercraft, figure out what building I need to be in, and then poof away.
Oh,
Because you, I'm not here fighting your mercenary company. I'm here by doing what my employer tells me to do, which is find this building and destroy it.
and blow it up.
Yeah,
And you did. And
yeah,
that's exactly what we needed to do, or well, you needed to do.
yeah.
But see, that also fits into the whole narrative of our story. And
Right.
it also goes back to, okay, I have my four mechs, you have your four mechs, and we're just battled to the death until we're forced to withdraw. Here it was, no, I don't care about your mechs. Just gonna
I
blow that
literally
up.
don't.
Right.
The the only mission was stop, excuse me, stopping you from getting across the board, and to do that, I just needed to pop one of them, and the
Right.
urban mech I could. So
Yeah.
I had to force withdraw the urban mech.
No,
So
it was
ignore
good.
the
It
awesome.
was fun.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed
Yeah.
everything about it. So, anything else you want to add in on Hinterlands before we wrap?
Do I get a Timberwolf for the next one for free?
No,
Okay.
no. Okay, that answer has been answered. If you guys have any questions or things you want to know about our thoughts on it, put it in the comments below and we'll respond there. Or hit us up on Discord and you can come talk to us about BattleTech there as well.
If we've got some
Um,
good questions in there, we might even talk about them at the next broadcast. Although I think we're going to be talking a lot about aces in our next broadcast.
yes. We are in the process of finishing filming Aces and then editing Aces, and then we're going to be releasing Aces. So Aces is what's coming up next for film schedule. After we complete Aces and fully release it, we're going to be jumping into our next, I'm going to just call it season of This Is Madness. And we already have our fleets and everything for that. And we just need to film it and edit it. I know we talked in our very first episode how we're changing our filming process and we're filming things straight through instead of like jumping between stuff. And to be very honest, that's working out really well for us. So we're going to
Yeah.
continue doing that. So we're still trying to figure out what we're going to do after Madness. We are thinking we're going to go back to Hinterlands because we just got done playing it and we want to play more.
Mhm.
And we're like, I can't play that for a couple months because we are filming other things,
Yeah.
but we're going to get back to it and we're going to just keep rotating through the different games as we go. So that's kind of our plan moving forward.
Yeah, I think other than that, we've some ideas of what we want to do after that, but now we are talking March,
August.
May, June, probably in the July, August timeframe now.
Yeah.
So I suspect at the end of our next broadcast, when we're done talking about aces, or if it's two episodes of broadcast, because there's a lot that I'm sure we're going to want to talk about with aces. Um, but we'll probably give another update on what we're doing. But for those of you that have been wondering, yes, Madness is coming. It will come after the full 7 episodes of Aces have been released. Uh, and then you'll get the fleet preview, and then we're doing 8 fleets, so it'll be 7 episodes of Madness. So kind of like what we did the first year, and it was like I think 2 or 3 years we did only 7
Yeah.
of the. This is what our 6th year now of doing this, I think,
Which is crazy.
isn't it though?
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got more Armada on the way. I know, John, you this is your favorite time of the year for Star Wars Armada with getting fleets. We've got a whole bunch of randomization that's going to come into it. We will talk all about that during the fleet breakdown episode, and then
Give
probably talk
me
about it as we go again.
1 second.
Mhm.
If this is our sixth season, right?
I think it is. Yeah.
Okay, so if you look up, because there's only a couple series that like have a ton and ton of series. So if you look up the Fast and Furious series, right? So
Yeah.
this is Fast and Furious 6. So this is Madness 6. You can call it that. So it's not going to be this is to Madness 2 or anything like that, or Madness Drift. This is going to actually be Madness 6.
I'm gonna write that down just so that I have it for all time. Madness 6. All right, John. We'll have some fun with the title sequence or something.
Yep.
That's funny. Tokyo Drift.
Yep. Okay. Well, we're gonna call it a night here. Thank you very much for listening. Um, like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. Give us a comment if you have any questions or anything like that below. Until next time, I'm John,
And I'm Ken.
and you've been watching Ion Radio.